So welcome everybody to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio, and today is Tuesday, May the 28th, 2024. And our calling number is 563-999-3581. And press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us, and we would love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. We're glad to have Dr. Tim back, but those were awesome recordings that we did over the last week, and we're thankful for that. Hope you enjoyed listening to them. And I am turning on Podbean so we can get it on both channels. And go to the website, whyagain.org, and in the top menu bar, at the very top, there are like the Facebook, the Vimeo, and then there is the YouTube. Or you can just type in youtube.com/MichaelRice_whyagain. If you go to the YouTube channel, we have uploaded, we've got 2 people now that are working on converting our MP3 radio shows to MP4s, and they're out there on our channel under videos. And then also, remember, we've got the shorts. I haven't put any new ones out there yet, but we're getting very close to the point where YouTube will allow us to earn money on our channel, which would be awesome. So definitely go out and check those things out, listen to them, and click like, and we appreciate it. And I'm going to welcome Michael to the show. Welcome.
Thank you, dear heart. Yes, as many listens as we can get is going to be helpful, and click like, join the channel, share it with somebody else. You know, you can always take any video that makes sense to you that you might think, oh, Bill could really use that, and just copy the link and send it to them. Invite them to join us. Ultimately, of course, the vision is that these words, these tools, these refinements become available to quite literally every mind, heart, and being on the planet. So, and glad that your listening ears are part of extending that energy throughout the globe. So thanks for being with us. I just finished doing a 3-day intensive with a gentleman that was quite impactful, and in conversing has opened some deeper spaces for me in me, which has been kind of interesting, and just kind of a new comprehension of the levels upon which we need to shift, and that just shifting the mind is not enough, that we really need to be shifting along with our minds, our physiology, and coming into a new state of alignment. You know, energy systems don't bring through more energy by efforting. They bring through more energy by aligning. If you put together a couple of Aramaic ideas, one of them, the word prayer, which the Greeks tell us has something to do with putting your order into the cosmic gift catalog, but if you can adapt the Aramaic mindset, that word prayer, whenever you hear it being used, what they're talking about is becoming the space where you are so aligned with the energy in which you live, move, and have your being. You're so aligned with love that you literally radiate that into the world. So when in prayer, not about telling the Creator what the Creator should be doing, it's about being in alignment with and having yourself aligned to capture that energy in which you live, move, and have your being. And more literally in Aramaic, the word prayer would be to set a trap for God, to literally become so physiologically aligned. And it takes the antenna being aligned to capture at full signal strength that energy that has a knowing and instructions that we do not, in our carbon-based memory, have access to. my personal experience as I work with these ideas, with this work, the corrections, the clarifications, the really important points, I'm really clear, do not come from my understanding or come from my head. They come directly from instruction. And the objective of this work is to support every person who touches it coming to that state of alignment. The master for your life is in your alignment and comes from inside of you. There is no external force that can provide it to you. There are external forces, or at least what appear to be external forces, that can support you. But developing the eyes to see and the ears to hear means that we listen not just with the brain cells of carbon-based memory, but we are physiologically aligned. And this new personal intensive work that I'm doing includes a new level of physiological alignment that what I'm seeing, and I've only done 8 or 10 people now, what I'm seeing is that it's like changing channels from channel 2 to channel 4. It's a totally different signal coming in. And if we take the opening words in the book of John, where we're told in Aramaic, it says, or by the Greeks, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word became flesh. In Aramaic, that's not what it says. It says, in the beginning was the mind energy, and the mind energy became flesh. And when we engage in the mind energy of hostility or fear, which has no place in a human energy system, we literally reorganize. We literally change the structure of our physiology to something that it wasn't designed for. And there needs to be a means of egress for the generational held trauma energetically. There's a principle in the energetic healing arts that talks about how we are aligned is how we can receive and give energy. And it's interesting that sometimes a person will receive an injury from some sort of energetic impact with something that they call the physical world. And in the process of that that injury, the structure is a certain state of alignment, and that in order to create the energetic possibility of that stored excess energy being released, one has to return to literally the state of alignment that their antenna, that their structure was in. And so it's all just kind of coming together and coagulating on a new level as I'm talking to folks who are doing this process and what's happening. So pretty cool.
And Joe is with us and has his hand up.
Oh, hey there, young man. Welcome.
Hey. Hey, can you hear me now?
You're loud and clear. How do you be? Are you outstanding in your field?
I am, as usual.
The one on the left side of the house or the one on the right side of the house?
See, it depends on my orientation. I'm going to say the right side. Yeah, that's right.
Ah, okay. Yep. Got it. Okay, I can see you there in your field. How you be, sir?
I'm great. I'm real good. I feel connected, which is nice, as opposed to yesterday, where I really finishing up with you on Sunday,
right? And
just feeling yesterday was a interesting day. Got started early, left out of Bristol, your location there, and got back here to Greenville, and just certainly it was interesting to note I felt hungover, or I felt as if I just had done something, or you know, the physical body and mind is, I was in this idea of, well, you just did something you've never done before. And it was emotionally sapping. What's the right word? Emotionally draining. And it was also
it's pretty intense.
Yeah, it gets. You know, the thing about intensity for me is that it's certainly something I enjoy, and it's intensity on both the enjoyable side and or the loving side of being cared for, of spending time doing energy work with you, lying on the wellness table, working, you know, touching and so forth, and doing the work and you know, breathing, practicing the breath. And then the other side of fear and or the notion is so that, you know, hey, this can't be right, it doesn't feel right. And it's one of those notions, the idea of, how would I know whether something feels right or not? I don't, or I want to be willing to experience another feeling, another thought process, to forgive myself. You know, start to move into a worksheet of what are the different feelings that I have where I'm stuck, and or, you know, another word for that would be just, you know, I've got this covered, and or I can handle this, and it's really not a matter of handling it. It's such a letting go of the letting go of all the paradigms that I have in my mind as to how I feel and or feel better. So it's this notion of this is how it's done, and then you know if you do this, this, and this, you'll feel better. Well, in the case of doing this work with you, is certainly the soft side of it, and remaining soft is a joyful experience. And then there's the side of, well, wait a minute, there was times over the past weekend with you that I felt, again, I don't know what the right word is, abandoned, and or I'm now in the realm of being, and I'm not bringing anything to it. I'm just going to be. I'm going to continue to breathe. And the one thing that's wonderful about you, Michael, is your coaching and the timing of that coaching, and or as I do more and more of this work, how I find that, yes, we are energy systems. We are, you know, you just talked about that with the antenna. It is it's almost like switching from the antenna that my dad and I put on the roof back, you know, 45 years ago to Wi-Fi. You know, I don't know about that jump, but it's certainly going from wired to wireless. So,
well, when you mentioned the word stuck, and then when we had talked earlier, you had said that you were noticing a difference in your balance. And I think that where you physiologically became unstuck, that's where, well, tell me more about what the balance thing meant to you.
Well, it's a notion, and it probably, for me anyway, I'm very athletic, always been athletic, able to mimic what I see athletically. I enjoy any kind of sports activity. I enjoy exercise every day, swimming, biking, rollerblade. And, you know, I like to throw into my mind, I think, wait a minute, you're 65, Joe. I'm sorry, what? You're 65. Well, so what? What's like, you know, I still know how to put these rollerblades on. And to that end, if people can relate to, rollerblades are, a bicycle's a bicycle, sure, that's not all that dangerous, but yes, it is. It can be if you're going down, and how you fall and the way you fall is part of everything. And so, to speak to the point of balance, is just that I feel more self-aware of my hand-eye coordination, my right foot, left foot coordination, how I'm getting up, rolling out of bed or sitting and then standing up and moving forward. There seems to be like a clarity in my cranium, in the skull from the work that we did, and or the releasing, like you say, of changing the channel to a clearer and or just a more clarity, and the feedback system is what I guess I'm getting at, that when I stand up, when I move forward, it just I feel better. The feedback system is, okay, these steps.
You mean feel better than you did previously?
Right.
I mean, you're relating this to before we did that work?
Yeah, right. Before doing the work with you, a certain sense of being 65, turning 65 in April, and then going through last weekend with you, the clarity of changing the channel, getting more, switching from the antenna to Wi-Fi, from wired to wireless, just feeling the feedback system is better. It sounds simple, and it is.
Well, I suspect physiologically you've got a new center point, and when you reach a new center point where previously the antenna has been out of alignment, the system becomes a little bit wobbly, and as you realign along that new center point, everything becomes more solid, more aligned. Again, it's just like, the weekend we talked about how, we've got this antenna on the roof, and I have this perfect picture and perfect sound, and somebody goes up and bends all the arms on the antenna and turns it backward. What happens to my signal? What happens to the energy exchange that brings the signal in so I can watch this program on my TV set? Well, all of a sudden it's trashed. And basically the mental, emotional, physiological assaults of life tend to lock trauma energy into not only the antenna but tissue throughout the whole structure. And once we get out of alignment, just like the antenna on the roof, somebody bent all the arms, the signal just isn't there the way it was supposed to be. And when you restructure that, then it just all comes back online.
Yeah, I also want to add, it was important to me I had done ayahuasca last year, and in this case, or the two times I had done ayahuasca, certainly with ayahuasca, you ingest this plant-based liquid, and
right.
with your work, it's just breathing, and the collaboration between you and me, and my breath, your breath. I just experienced at one point, or several points I experienced what I would call was similar to my ayahuasca experience of visions.
Oh, really?
And visions or sighting or seeing, seeing something and saying, at one point it was this blue light, I'm holding its hand, it's holding your hand, and I'm holding your other hand, and the three of us become this trinity, which, wait a minute, did he just say the word Trinity? And with my Catholic background, oh gosh, you throw the word holy in there. Now what are we talking about? Holy Trinity. Well, there was a sense for me of this the collaboration, the nutrition, the nourishment of what we were doing. It was a good, continue it. And that leads me to the aspect of when we were doing when you were putting pressure points on my body and then saying to me, feel how you react to this. That was interesting, because it was this notion of, if you were pushing on my thigh, then I think you used the word recruit. Who's being recruited within your system to assist with this pain that you're experiencing? So that was another.
What muscles are you recruiting to resist it? Remember that in Aramaic, the word Satan means the resistor, one who misleads, and the objective there is just whenever there's something that I'm holding back on that has the potential to move through my structure, if I start to, you remember, oftentimes we've talked about the objective is to become the thinker apart from the thought, the feeler apart from the feelings, the actor apart from the action. So when I can step back and I start to observe, oh, yeah, geez, here I've got a sensation going on in my thigh and my right shoulder's cramping up, locking down. Well, that's where the resistor is. That's how we hold on. And when you start to notice that, then you can start to let those things go. And that's a big part of what realigns the whole system. There's an interesting video that you might want to spend $5 or $6 to watch. It's on YouTube. It's also on Vimeo. And it's called All the Rage. It's a documentary on the work of a medical doctor, actually, researcher, named Dr. John Sarno. And Sarno has coined a term called tension mitosis syndrome. And he proposes, as a back surgeon, decades ago he stopped using a scalpel to bring people into healing with their spines, and he has the best definition of back pain that I've ever heard. As a medical doctor, pretty rare to hear this, but he says back pain is unconscious rage. And that what we do is in order to avoid feeling, we shut down, we lock down, we tighten structure. And when we tighten structure, that restricts blood flow. And according to Sarno, a 5% lack of oxygen in a cell means that cell is screaming out in pain. And so if I start to notice, why do I have this sore shoulder or this sore back or whatever it is? What am I holding that's restricting blood flow that is minimizing the amount of oxygen available to the cell and therefore creating this pain? And then what am I willing to do to soften, to open that which I've recruited to resist that flow and let it open again and restore the circulation? Then, of course, you had the avicen with you, having your hand in the avicen. The superpower of the avicen is to increase that blood flow. So all together, it all just, it all makes for that shift that's so profound.
Yeah, there's no question.
But I'm really especially delighted to hear how you could see what I'm hearing you say is you've been observing how, at least according to your beliefs, because of age, your structure was not in the kind of proprioception, not in the kind of balance that you used to have, and here it is, it's back. Like, who'd have thunk it, and that as time unfolds and as I pay attention to those places where I've restricted and I embrace those energetic patterns and let the energy move, more and more blood flow is going to happen, nutrient flow is going to happen, waste removal is going to happen, and everything. And the structure changes. And to me, one of the key parts of you mentioned being brought up Catholic, is sadly, in some ways, this work has been brought into churchianity, and it's been made something about Sunday morning and holiness and religiosity. And to me, that is such an assault on what the real work of living is. You go back and you listen to this man, Yeshua, and he doesn't say, I come to bring you dogma and doctrine. He says, I come to bring you life, and here's how you do it. And he gives a whole set of instructions, and the core of his instruction is forgiveness. And until we let those patterns go, it's like, to me, the application is where we live, and it doesn't get, in terms of your direct experience, it doesn't get more directly related to where you live is to, oh my God, my whole balance, my whole proprioceptional structure is changed. It's upgraded. It's improved where I thought I'd lost it to age. I mean, to me, that's how it all fits, like right where we live. It isn't about something that happens on a Sunday morning.
Yeah. I mean, that is it. The idea of, or the ideas that I have accepted and now want to unlearn if they are not serving me. And it's such an observational thing that I think that's the other thing too of the experience between you and I. And feeling, the other thing that was very important to me was safety. I really was surprised to let go of the idea that I wasn't safe, that what we were doing was for my benefit. So there was this, I find the notion of being, when you're young, you're 6 years old, you're pain, you may be getting a whipping, or you may be getting, the wooden spoon applied. So pain is a corrective behavior, and you learn to, I don't like that. I don't want that pain. In this case, it's the mirror or the other side of the coin of that, of saying, no, let me welcome this pain. And as you said, as we were doing it, it was look or feel what's being recruited within your energy system. So those two things of energy system and having a paradigm of saying, hey, that's what I am, both an emitter as well as a receiver energy system. And to that end, I can work on my calibration. So I'm going, I spend the weekend calibrating with you my energy flow, and in and out, whether it's all around, whatever the flow is. That's what I'm learning. I think that's the other thing too for me, is to say, okay, I am an energy system, and there are certain times where, I may be in, a good example certainly is, you're in public, you're with other energy systems, and I realize, okay, I got to go. I'm not feeling good in this environment. I'm not going to participate. So I'm going to move away from it. And that's okay. That's the whole idea of recharging, I guess. Again, it's like you and I had talked, whereby at certain points in this work, the words and the vocabulary that I have doesn't help. It's this, again, asking Ruka. That's the other thing I find fascinating, is that Ruka is the feminine energy. So honor your mother and father, honor the feminine part of me as well as the masculine part, and be with that, Joe.
Yes.
I have those two energies, feminine and masculine, and honor that and be with that. It's very,
huge.
That whole, my experience between Catholic, upbringing, as well as, and being athletic and sports, the competitiveness is, whatever it takes, and you're not going to feel pain, or you're going to just shrug it off, when the fact of the matter is that, wait a second, I'm in a lot of pain here, and I need to take care of myself, honor myself.
Well, several things come to mind as you express that, and one of them is, I'm going to interject something we talked about several times this weekend, of the opening words in the book of John that don't say in the beginning was the Word, and the Word became flesh, but say in the beginning was the mind energy, and the mind energy became flesh. And that literally, when we engage in a frequency of thought, that frequency of thought becomes a literal molecule in our structure, and ultimately, when that molecule, that neuropeptide, lands on a cell, it becomes the chemistry in that cell, and that's how mind energy becomes flesh. And, we reviewed several principles, several different ideas that we've been fed a story about that just isn't true. And as long as we hold on to an untrue story, we're literally creating the chemistry on the level where we think of chemistry of disease. And
right,
so,
there it is.
So I want to back up to what you said a few minutes ago about how, well, this pain is being inflicted on me for correction. That's a story we've been told. That's a story that maybe we've even told ourselves. We've all heard the parent who said, this hurts me more than it does you. And that's a lie that we've been taught to tell ourselves, when what a person is doing who's inflicting pain on another is trying to inhibit the behavior of that other, that is showing an individual what it is they don't want to feel, what it is they don't want to deal with. My offering is that all punishment, parental punishment, it's not about correcting the child. It's about this child is doing something, it's resonating something I haven't dealt with in me, and I need to stop it. So, Mom, Dad, this doesn't hurt you more than it hurts me. That's not true at all. What it is, Mom, Dad, this abusive energy that you're engaging in is a way that you're discharging your own unconscious pain that I'm resonating in you. This is not correction. Punishment has never had anything to do with correction, even though it's a big story on the planet, and everybody thinks, well, what we need to do with this evildoer is punish them. No. What is needed is the energy of active present love so that correction in the system can occur. And there's so many stories we've been told. We had the conversation about the impact of alcohol and how, it's considered to be in this culture something to do with celebration. But when you look at the real story behind alcohol and the number of deaths and the number of rapes and the number of suicides and the number of spousal abuse and the child abuse that happens, and the millions that die every year as a result of alcohol, this doesn't have anything to do with celebration. That's a skillful brainwash on the part of people who are making money from the sale of alcohol. I mean, it's a pure physiological poison that does nothing but destroy. Punishment is exactly the same. It's a pure disintegrative energy relative to the tissue structure, and each of those stories we've been told or that we tell ourselves, they're the things that need forgiven. They're the energetic patterns that need forgiven, and because each lie that we bring in literally distorts physiology and brings the alignment of the core antenna or structure out of where it's designed to be, that energy needs to be addressed and forgiven, needs to be removed so that the structure can go back into its proper range of motion, its proper function, its proper self-adjusting antenna system. And it all, again, it's like this is where we live. This is where we have our physiology. It's not about what happens on Sunday morning.
Well, I remember years ago when we were somewhere and you're standing there saying, confusion, confusion's good. And I thought, here we go. Confusion's good. Yeah. Okay, Michael. Yeah. And it strikes, I don't like that word anymore. It occurs to me that it's interesting, even as you and I are talking right now, speaking of my distortion leads to my resistance or my headache or this, I'm feeling within right now, my arms and my chest, this distortion.
And notice that you're noticing it. Key from this weekend. Notice that you're noticing it. That's why that invitation I did so many times say, notice what your body's recruiting to resist this flow of energy. In Aramaic, that's Satan. And most people live there their whole lives and never have a clue. Because they've been told it's about some dude out there with a red suit, a tail, and pitchfork.
Yeah. Yeah. See, it's interesting because it is, I don't know, maybe the analogy of a 45 or an 33, an album, we take the record and we take it off of the turntable and then we put it back down and put the needle and the melody, the lyrics are just absolutely wonderful, but there's something happens where I flip over the record to the other side of the coin, and now I'm in distortion. Or the radio station, one of your favorite analogies of, I got this right set, it's coming through nice, got my stereo speakers, everything's flowing, and then I don't know, plane flies over, whatever, or as an example, just the resistance starts to flow, and so now I'm not as connected as I felt. And go back to the breathing, go back to the worksheet.
Good practice.
It really is it's a good practice. It's a practice. And I can't say enough about how you create, or you can't, the other thing too that's exciting, because this isn't something that, you see it all the time now, or I do anyway, where, Chuck Norris or Oprah Winfrey or these celebrities have the answer. And it's like, well, you know what? You're not using the word we, and we're really not participating in this together. All you're doing is selling some type of product that you want me to ingest, and it's going to make me feel okay. Well, there's really no difference there. In the case with your work and spending that time with you one-on-one, there's a collaboration that is just such a flow into willingness, into that willingness, the cosmic release.
I think recognizing that, excuse me, go ahead, I thought you were finished.
No, I'm done.
Yeah. Standing in that space of willingness and recognizing that the master teacher for each one of us is inside of each one of us. The higher wisdom, the higher knowledge for you is inside of you. It's not inside of me. The higher knowledge, the higher wisdom for me is inside of me. The challenge is to connect with it. You go back to yesterday. He says, you can deny me, but don't deny the one I came to connect you with.
And the collaboration, though, that's the nice thing, is that with you, I can, or I did, meet that being. When two or more,
the state of your own being, you mean?
Yeah.
Sweet. That's awesome.
Blue, for me, it's blue. For me, it's this blue energy that the blueness that I experience, and this shaft. It never took a form, but it was the three of us holding hands and moving as you were moving around my body and experiencing a very I don't have the words yet. I don't really want to, because it's joyful. It's joyful. I'll say that much.
That's it.
I recommend everybody try it. Huh?
That's what connectedness is.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it to all,
and it can only come from within us. And I wonder, a thought keeps coming. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to point out that it's interesting to note that when I say within me, my confusion lied but my confusion is in the aspect of seeing. So whether my eyes are closed or open, and in this case, physically they're closed, I'm seeing.
So you're still seeing.
I'm experiencing something in my field of feeling, and it gets interpreted in all the aspects of what I am as this carbon-based unit, and so there can be confusion around that, and there certainly is for me in terms of wait a minute, where did that blue shaft happen? Where was that? Well, my eyes were closed. You were doing your work. I was doing my breathing, and it showed up. Where did it show up? Oh, was it over here? Was it over there? No, it was really between my ears and or the idea of tapping into being, to out of my mind. And being the witness.
And it's the alignment of the structure that allows that to happen most immediately.
Right. That alignment. Right.
Now, the question that comes from me now, if you remember back, 10 years or so ago, Oak Island, you shared with me you were sitting on the couch during the class, and all of a sudden, a place where your spine had been injured started to do whatever it did. If you think of that experience in the context of what you went through in this 3-day personal intensive, how does it relate? What does that look like for you?
Well, I think it was the best way to describe Oak Island was the lower back, L4, L5. I'm 6'5". As you know, I'm tall, handsome, and have many blessings.
Just such a blessing to the world, yeah. Outstanding in your field. Yeah.
Outstanding in any field. But seriously, folks, stay with me. No, the Oak Island L4, L5 the experience was plumbing. It was an experience of the reconnection or the redistribution of I don't know what in that area of my lower back. And it was
Tell us what happened.
You were speaking. It was a wonderful venue. So we were there on the beach in this beach house, and we were going to begin the day as a group, come together as a group, and I sitting there on the couch, in love, in the aspect of love and everyone participating, and what happened is this again feeling of jiggle maybe is a good word, or this feeling in my lower back of things being redistributed, or this connection was not, and moved this over here, and I'm sitting there just like, oh, this is interesting, because it all felt good. There's no concern about, well, this isn't, I got to go, I got to stand up or stretch or something. There was none of that, and then it was all just over, within, I don't remember now, it was at least a couple minutes of just sitting there. And I think, even the notion of, is anybody else seeing what's happening to me? And no one was, because I was just sitting there, as usual, acting like I was listening to you. I did pretty good at that. But, yeah, that's right, I said it. But the interesting question is, yeah.
So does what we did this last 3 days inform you any more about what happened 10 years ago in that intensive, that you got such a physiological shift that old back pain disappeared?
What's interesting is that was an occurrence where you and I, we didn't have any kind of physical interaction, or maybe certainly there was. I think we were doing love exchanges. So that's always important. So we have, not only everybody in the group, we were doing love exchanges. So that was happening. But in terms of what happened over the last weekend, relative to that, it just, the collaboration thing seems to be much different than the realignment of my lower back problems, and whatever that was. This weekend was more of the observation, to be the observer of how I react to the distortion, and I that's pretty darn, that's a big one for me right now in terms of accepting and willingly reminding myself of I'm an energy system. If the distortion comes up, I can correct it with my breathing and where I am. I can move
right.
and go forward, or and or forgive myself for whatever distortion I've created. Whereas what happened at Oak Island was more of wasn't the same as that. It wasn't something that we pinpointed. When you were working on me, I'm lying on the wellness table and you're doing your thing and I'm breathing, and that was a different experience.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it explained any more of what had happened back then. So, thank you for that input. That's cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
I don't. Yeah, it is awesome. It's very awesome. I highly recommend it. If anybody's listening, they should pursue a couple of days one-on-one. I think it's really the key. I mean, certainly any of the different intensive that I've been to before with groups, this is a different. The discussion with you one-on-one is, and I'll never forget. I can't remember the woman's name, but I had the same experience like when I first met you, and then over time, and now it's been over 20 years that we've known each other. There's this notion of, this guy's got something, or it's Michael Rice. I've listened to this. I've read his books. Now I'm talking to the man. It's like this pedestal thing. He might be.
Well, remember the instruction. Yeah, remember the instruction at the beginning of each intensive you've done, Joe, where I say, if you brought a ladder for me, please, or a pedestal for me, please turn it into a ladder for your own process, because it's about your process, not me, not mine. So we're here to support each other, and to me, the beauty of it is that each of us that does a piece of our work and achieves a new level of being is able to reach out and offer that same thing to every other person that we touch or even look at. And that, to me, is the ultimate objective of it. That's what's going to shift the insanity that's taken over the earth and open the physiology to be able to realign, to reorganize around a higher energy than the one we've been stuck with generational patterns.
And I also wanted to speak to, I thought it was fascinating when you had said to me, how's your job? And it wasn't what you asked me. And that's what I heard, though. And what you said was, I didn't ask you about your job, Joe. What's up with your jaw? And that was a very, very much a door opening of saying, Joe, you do this thing with your jaw. And my girlfriend, Susan, would say to me, what's up with your jaw? Because it's a movement that I don't know, it's not like touching your nose, or, a lot of people will, touch their nose or whatever. And in this case, I move my jaw left to right. And I thought, oh, okay. Yeah. And you had shared, hey, you're either discharging or you're creating energy, and something's being done with that. And then after Sunday and the work we did there was really, and also the fact that you had that piece of equipment, that, the skull, and you showed me, hey, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, or why we're doing it. This is an energy system that's vibrating and pulsing, and we have not been taught that. This is not, you need to go take some aspirin. You don't need to go do some breathing or do a worksheet. You need to go ingest something to quickly move on through the drive-through, So that was wonderful to understand that why I do that jaw movement. It feels even better. I like doing it. Did I lose you?
Michael, I think you're on mute.
Okay. Have you found that it shifted since?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my head, in particular, the movement of the balance issue is where I have, and like I said, right, as we are talking here, I'm shaking my arms out because I feel a bit of distortion in my arms and shoulders, and then I'm moving my jaw as well as breathing.
While holding the space for that, and you'll remember we talked about what we're doing is mobilizing, and we want to keep that mobilizing, and I will get a video to you. We want to keep that mobilizing because it is, as long as the core antenna of the system is mobilized, it can keep moving to higher and higher states of organization, higher and higher states of alignment. That's my take on it. And we do have somebody with a hand up, Jeannie tells me.
All right, thank you.
Miss Jeannie? Well, hold on. I think they've want to say something to you, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
It's David Jackal, 206. You're on the air.
Hello.
Well, hey there, young man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing really good.
Awesome.
I feel like I'm like shifting up to a next level, just kind of with my dreams and events in life, and just doing deeper work. And I'm pretty excited to come up there or down there to do that intensive, and hopefully get some good support to process through this like core issue.
It'll be exciting to support you in making that movement and moving forward. Did you have a thought for Joe or a question?
Oh, for Joe?
I'm here. David, pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. No, I don't really have anything new. I mean, I wanted to comment. I think last week I was listening, and I wasn't able. I think you guys had a lot of people on, and you were talking about like Jung and the shadow, and then you went to, I think in another episode a couple days later, you were talking about, certain people believing in external demons and kind of avoiding the responsibility of their own thinking. But when I was in Jungian analysis, I remember I struggled, I don't want to say the concept of the shadow itself, but the process of integrating it. And I was having these insights because I remember Jung was debating with a theologian, and the theologian was saying the shadow or evil. Jung and him were discussing evil, and it was about, the theologian was saying it was the absence of love, and Jung was saying it's an actual fact, like evil is real. And I remember being in analysis and thinking, how am I going to integrate this shadow if I'm thinking it's real, in the sense, and I remember getting kind of stuck in that phase, and I kept going back to the Course in Miracles and your work, and literally doing the worksheets has resolved that issue.
That's the key.
That's the key. Yeah, and I feel like when I went to a Jungian school and I got a 2-year certificate, we were taught by the analyst, and it was very vague and very confusing when they would talk about the shadow or archetypes. And I feel like by doing this work, a lot of this stuff has been resolved. And I think the integration of the shadow is basically acknowledging and seeing it. It's not a real thing per se. It's just choice, and it, choosing, hostility or fear, and being able to like what you say, let go of these goals. And I mean, it's really, really clarify this. And then you were mentioning a few days later about, I think it was a doctor that believed that he was being attacked by demons externally.
Yes. Yeah.
And believed that. And then I was
thinking, his whole family was being attacked.
Yeah, like what Jung said, and I think he's correct on this, is he called them autonomous complexes, where somebody will completely disassociate in the sense of totally disconnect from aspects of themselves that eventually will attack themselves.
Turn around and attack them, exactly.
Yeah, it'll be drawn out in the relationships. Yeah, the turnaround. Yeah, and I remember
to me that's the turnaround from. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that's the turnaround from the Aramaic, where they're understanding these are literal thought disorders assembled into such a complex arrangement of energetic patterns, and because the mind has the ability to turn digital information into pictures, all of a sudden we have pictures. We see these things, but they're nothing but reflections of what we're holding in the way of mind energy. And then the Greeks turned it around. We're going to go to the other end and look at all these demons out here in the world. We can see them. They're real. No, they're well, yes, they're real, but they're not what we've been taught they are. And to me, the genius of Yeshua being able to recognize that these structures, whatever they are, the good, the bad, and the ugly, are constructs of the mind driven by goals. And if there's one of them that needs to be embraced, integrated, by canceling the goal that drives it, we literally bypass the picture and get to the direct unconscious energy, get back into direct relationship with it. And that's what leads one into what we would define in this work as process, and that's the ability to hold love present when something less than love is moving within us.
I totally
That's
agree.
the ultimate objective.
And when I studied the depth psychology of alchemy, and they were discussing it takes gold to make gold, and it's a very obscure, like, symbolic language, and I think the key is you have to be in the presence of love when you're doing this work. If you can't get back, like what you guys talked about, to the infant state of direct beingness, then this work is not going to work. If you can't,
and I would shift that's it. I would shift one word as opposed to being in the presence of love. The language that to me would more accurately represent it would be being the presence of love.
Exactly.
That's what we are, that we have to bring our true selves to what Jung called the shadow, or the world calls evil and such. When we bring and we are that active presence of love, that's where we enter into process, and processing I define as the ability to hold love present when something less than love is moving in me. And that creates the transmutation of whatever's moving in me. If I resist it, if I hold my breath, if I struggle, if I tighten my body and I go against it, I just locked it down. And now, in the Aramaic sense, I'm literally trapped in Satan, the resistor, the one who misleads. So,
well, the Course in Miracles comes to mind, and that is to remove the blocks that I have put in place.
Yep.
That's it.
The awareness of love's presence.
It's always there. It's always there. I just need to remove the block.
Yes.
Joe,
you have a thought?
No, just that.
Joe, you have a thought?
The fact that how many? Just the fact that the removal of that is the breathing. It begins with the breathing every time. It's because the presence, I am the presence. I am the conscious active presence of love. I think, Michael, when
it is the locking down of the breath that coagulates the energy. The extracting of the breath from that energy causes its rate of vibration to be lowered, so it becomes what we call physical. And it's the adding of the breath back that allows that energy that's maybe been solidifying in our family systems, in our culture for centuries or eons, that the adding the breath back is what steps that frequency up so that literally the energetic pattern is dissolved. And we're allowed to go back to our original alignment, original being.
Amen.
Yeah, I agree.
Amen, and a woman. Awesome. Well, great discussion. Thank you for calling in, and I look forward to seeing you next month for that session. And Joe, awesome work
luck,
this weekend.
Thank you, Joe.
Have a
nice
blessed
meeting
one.
You.
Yes, pleasure, sir.
All right.
Bye now.
All right, everybody. Have the best year yet of your eternal life. Great gift.